All right, Deadleg. I've got Gonzaga ranked number 1 in the top 25 and 1. How are you feeling about Mark Few's Zags? Is this the year they cut the nets on the first Monday in April?
Is this the year, my man? If it's not this year, we could have said this the past 3 years. If it's not this year, when's it going to happen? I did write after Gonzaga. I saw Gonzaga lose in person in San Francisco in the Sweet 16 when they got knocked out by the Hogs. I did write that I thought Gonzaga's best window to win a national championship might have closed. 6 of the 8 back. At that time, I thought TIMME was going to go. That's also why I wrote that. I thought that now I thought it would be best for him to come back. I'm glad he did. Drew Timme did come back. But at the time when I wrote it, I thought, well, I'll write this, and if TIMME goes, then that will reflect reality. The reality is they still have another year here to get this done. And those continue to be great. Don't get me wrong. But in Drew Timme, and I'll lay out his legacy here in a few, you might have the last either elite prospect or like all-time great player at Gonzaga of the Mark Few era. You might not, but you might. And there's not that many guys that have hit that kind of level. Here's where Gonzaga has been positioned entering the past 4 regular seasons in the poll. We don't have the preseason AP poll, but GP's got them number 1. So they're going to be 1, 2, or 3 at worst when the AP poll comes out in October. Gonzaga has been first, 8th, and 3rd the past 4 years entering the season. Respectively, they have finished first, 2nd, and 4th. Final AP poll, as a reminder, comes out the Monday after Selection Sunday. NCAA tournament results don't factor in, fair or not, right or wrong, smart or stupid. That's not what happened. So Gonzaga, at the end of the regular season, has continued to match or not exceed expectations literally in 3 of the 4 years. And the 1 year they didn't, they started 3rd, ended 4th. So for you to have them 1, I think is fair. I have not personally decided where I'm going to put Gonzaga in my preseason rankings. It's going to be hard for me to put them lower than 3rd. In fact, I can borderline promise that I won't put them lower than 3rd. You've got them right there in the wheelhouse of all the teams we've talked about on this summer shoot-around series. We might be more in line on Gonzaga than any other team we've talked about just yet. Starting 5 projection for me is probably Nolan Hickman at the 1, who I think will be among the biggest. I don't know if Hickman will qualify or not as a breakout player. In fact, we recently just did this exact topic at cbssports.com where we tried to project who will be breakout players. Hickman was in mind. I went with Zakai Ziegler out of Tennessee when we did that. But Hickman, I think, is going to be humongous this season. Him at the 1. Bolton. Malachi Smith, transfer from Chattanooga, big-time player. Get them on the guard wings. And then obviously you'll have Strother at the 4 and Timme playing at the 5. I got some stuff on Timme, but I want to hold on that. What are your overall takeaways on this roster in Gonzaga, and why did you ultimately decide to jump them? You've explained this previously, but for people that might not have been listening when you did this in April, we're now in August. You did not have Gonzaga preseason number 1 coming out of the tournament. We talked about that at length on the podcast, and eventually, I guess it was when Timme officially decided to come back, you decided to bump down the Tar Heels. But refresh the listeners real quick on why you did that and your thoughts on this roster.
Well, I always had Drew Timme coming back to school from version 1 of the top 25 and 1. He was always going to be a part of this team. And, if he was, from my perspective, and then if he announced he's leaving, then I would adjust, which is what I'd spend the entire offseason doing. To me, the tipping point was really 2 things unrelated to Drew Timme. Rasheer Bolton coming back. Nobody thought he was coming back. Like he had more or less strongly suggested he was just done with college, for better or worse. And so when he announced he was coming back to Gonzaga, that was maybe not a surprise in that moment, but it was a surprise relative to what people assumed would be the case at the end of the season. And then they add Malachi Smith, the Southern Conference Player of the Year. And they also added Efton Reed, by the way, who's a 5-star guy in the class of 2021, played his first season at LSU. Wasn't great, played 19.6 minutes per game. But at some point, the talent's just too overwhelming. I mean, they've got a better roster than anybody else. I'll keep it that simple. I think Gonzaga has a better roster than anybody else. Exactly how they go with the starting lineup, I'm not sure. Anton Watson could factor into that, I guess. Mm-hmm. But when you've got Bolton, Strother, Timme all coming back, I mean, with Bolton and Strother, that's 2 double-digit scores, from a team that finished number 1 at KenPom and was the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament once again. TIMME is at this point, getting into the conversation of who are the best, who's had the best college basketball careers of this century. Like he's now on that list. He'll be a preseason first team All-American. And then you add Malachi Smith. And I think this is important. It's clearly a jump from the Southern Conference to the Gonzaga level of basketball. I got it. But he was unreal at Chattanooga and unreal for a good team. They won 27 games.
Yeah, and they should have won in the tournament game, by the way. That might have been the biggest blown opportunity. They let it. I want to say they let Illinois GP like 39 of the 40 minutes in that game. I might be wrong on that, but it certainly felt like that.
Yeah, but they played Illinois like to the final seconds and played them tough. So he wasn't just, sometimes you get these mid-major guys who put up big numbers at the mid-major level, but it's for a bad team. It reminds me of a saying a coach used a long time ago. I don't remember even who, but he said the mistake people make when they look at what somebody average per game rebounds, but somebody, every bad team has somebody who averages 15 points per game.
Every bad team's got a leading scorer. Basically.
That's right. It doesn't mean anything all the time. Malachi Smith averaged 19.9 points, 6.7 rebounds for a good team, a team that was top 70 at KenPom. So I think he's the real deal. I think he's going to be able to play. And then whether it's Nolan Hickman, Hunter Salas, Caden Perry, Efton Reed, they have 4 sophomores who were top, 60 in the class of 2001, including 2 5-stars, all of whom were role players at best last season, whether they were at Gonzaga or in Efton Reed's case, LSU. Can any of them make a jump? If so, that's and I think Nolan Hickman is perhaps the most likely, although Hunter Salas was the 5-star guy who enrolled at Gonzaga alongside Chet Holmgren. Nolan Hickman was top 35 prospect, 4-star guy. But Mark's got a lot of different options, places he can go. Malachi Smith can play point guard. So if Nolan Hickman isn't ready to be, a Gonzaga level starting point guard, then Malachi Smith can do that. You can play them together. You can play Hickman, Smith, Bolton together. You can bring one of them off the bench if you want Watson in the start, or, there's just a lot of different options. How many other programs are going to have 4 top 60 guys who are sophomores, and none of whom were big players last season? All you need is 1 or 2 of those guys to make significant jumps, and you've got a team that I think is going to finish number 1 at KenPom once again. I think the Zags are going to be great, and yes, that's not just my opinion. They are the betting favorite to win the national championship. If you start looking at betting markets, teams to win the 2023 NCAA tournament, Gonzaga is right there at the top.
I'll run down the schedule. We'll do a little, just like in the Duke episode, we'll do a little win total here. But before that, I do want to talk TIMME and where he's headed towards. So career numbers right now: 1521 in points, 1,521, 618 rebounds, 206 assists. Those are the most relevant numbers there. That comes out to 15.7 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 2.1 assists for his career. Not last season, for his career. Again, 15.7, 6.4, 2.1. I think he increases those averages this season. If Gonzaga plays 36 out of a possible 40 games, however those 36 shake out, they play the entire WCC conference and they only get 2 in the tournament, or they get bounced early from the WCC. God forbid we have more COVID stuff, but whatever. If he plays to his averages and Gonzaga gets 36 games in, he'll finish, TIMME will, with 2,100 points, 850 rebounds, 280 assists. I believe I was doing a little bit of a dive on Gonzaga. I was having fun on this summer afternoon GP and going deep into the Gonzaga archives and record books. I can't say with 100% certainty, but I believe with 98% certainty, he would be the first Gonzaga player ever. 2,100 points, 850 rebounds, 280 assists. No other Zag can match that threshold. Even if he doesn't get to 2,100 points, I think if he gets to 1,900 and 800 rebounds and 280 assists, he'll be the first ever there.
And keep this in mind. I think this is right. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's got another year of eligibility.
He does. That's the other thing. He does. Every player that basically lost a year because they were in college when COVID happened, you get the bonus year. So he is a senior. He does have 2 more years of eligibility if he wants it, I really feel like this will be the last one, but who the hell knows? He did tweet after there was speculation whether he would or would not come back. He literally just tweeted, "I'm back" at I think like an hour before the deadline.
The thing, and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but like, if he's making $2 million a year playing college basketball because of name, image, and likeness, it's just whether he wants to get on with it or not. There could be a scenario where it's just financially sensible to play another year of college basketball. I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying it used to be a foregone conclusion. Like, it's just time to get on with it. If my future is playing in Spain or G League, it's just time to go. But now these guys can literally make millions of dollars in college basketball. And like, that's the reason he's back this season. And if it was enough to bring him back for this season, I just would never rule out that that some of these guys who are great college players for great programs, but not ideal NBA prospects, I think we're going to see them exhausting their eligibility while making millions of dollars. I think it's going to be a normal thing.
Yeah, well, the number will never be outright publicized. I would be downright shocked if Drew Timme is not a millionaire playing at Gonzaga this season. I got told by multiple NBA sources that the understanding, granted, I did not get this on paper. I never saw Chet Holmgren's contracts or whatever, but people in the NBA, I'm talking front offices, were of the understanding that Chet Holmgren made more than $2 million last year in NIL opportunities. I don't know if Timme will match or exceed that, but he clearly needs to be making seven figures by returning to Gonzaga and being one of the 2 or 3 biggest faces in the sport. But legacy-wise, like he's headed toward all-time Zag status, okay? Gonzaga's all-time leader in points is not Adam Morrison. I won't even trivia time you with this because you wouldn't know. It's Frank Burgess, who played late 50s.
I know Frank. I know Frank Burgess.
You know?
Okay. Yes, I grew up watching Frank Burgess.
All right, 2,196. For Timme to break Gonzaga's all-time scoring record, he needs to average 17.7 points and have Gonzaga play 38 games, which means make the WCC tournament title game and the Elite Eight. That's for him to break it. If they don't get to 38 and they play 37, he needs to average 18.3 points. These are doable. He might do it, but he might not. But still, I think he's going to have his number retired. Only Adam Morrison, John Stockton, and Burgess are the only guys honored in the kennel. They're the only guys who have their numbers retired there. I think Timme's bound for it, and he's going to be the 4th guy, and I think he's in for a huge year. Preseason National Player of the Year contender. Obviously, Oscar Tshiebwe is coming back, so he'll probably win it, but Timme was the preseason National Player of the Year a year ago, and he's been a 2-time consensus second-team All-American. If he plays the way we think he'll play, Parrish, I mean, I don't know where he would stack all time, but let's just say since the year 2000, yes, he's going to be among the 10 to 15 best players in college basketball. If I will also qualify this, if Gonzaga can make minimally another Elite Eight, ideally a Final Four, and he's a consensus first-team All-American. He's got to do it. We got to see him, but he's clearly headed toward that pace. You got a thought on Timme before I indulge us in this Gonzaga win total? Because I'm going to read off the schedule. Wait until you get a load of it.
I think he's definitely going to have his number retired. I mean, he's already a 2-time All-American.
But it's not easy. The point is, it's not easy. There's only 3 Gonzaga players that have ever had it done. So I think he's going to get it, but it's not an easy accomplishment at that university.